Hi, and welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now. I'm Michelle Jones, and I am here today with Scott Collins, but he's not going to be my podcast bro. He's going to actually be an interview subject. Dun, dun, dun. And it's
Let me clench my crystals.
clench those crystals, my friend. No, and it's to learn more about what it is, your gifts and your talents, and how you perceive your mission of helping people like here on this planet. Like, what is your purpose at this time? What are you feeling most empowered about? So, I'm going to have like a little range of questions for you for your work, bro, just because you and I kind of dove into doing this podcast and we really have been focused on guests, right? Because we're like, okay, there are a lot of interesting people out there that have manifested empowerment in so many different ways. However, they might not know us and kind of our empowerment journey. And as you would say, our bag of our martial arts and kind of how we support our clients. I know that there's a range that you have, Scott, in terms of gifts and talents, my friend. Everything from plants, and I'm gonna talk about plants with you initially, but plants to energetic, I would say medicine in air quotes, medicine, um, breath work, right? To talk with you about breath work. So the first the first thing that I want to ask you a little bit about, and then of course I know that in other places and spaces where you're able to, you have also done visionary work with people, right? So um and please feel free to just kind of do some jazz to go where you want to with these. Um, these are kind of like opportunities for people to see who you are, just you, Scott, and your work with your clients. So,
That's because I I think it's important that no, I don't consider myself I'm not a the only thing I have a degree in, to be clear to everybody, is physics. Um, Everything else I'm just a student at and try to live it first. But
certified by education.
certified by degree in education. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself to be the most affluent in that. There are other things
Mhm.
that I feel more fluent at than physics, but I'm not certified by degree in anything other than physics.
Where do you feel most fluent with your clients?
So, and also as far as clients go, I don't even really see that many clients. I don't advertise. I don't promote anything. Anybody I've ever worked with, it's just been directly through a um, word of mouth reference. Um, and clients for me really spans a wide range. I mean, I teach tennis, I play rock and roll music. But so I guess I have clients in those regards, but I also have sat with people in a lot of other regards. Conversational hypnosis, plant medicine, advise people with herbs, um, help through intuiting karmic lives with people, that kind of stuff. So, I don't even like, as you're asking me these questions, I'm looking at myself and I'm like, I don't even know what my client base is, to be honest.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah.
So, is it because it's a wide swath of people potentially in range, as opposed to I'm looking for just this person?
I'd say it's a wide swath, but also like the lines are really blurred to me beyond just a normal encounter in life and a client.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a regular experience.
Professional student of life,
Yeah.
right? Where, so clients is kind of, for me, it denotes that we're in service,
Mhm.
right? To support and to help, to get people where it is that they want to go, right? Um, Tell me in terms of what you believe your mission to be helping the humans on the planet at this time.
Mm, yeah. Well, my mission that I do believe would be for the highest good of all is to just become the highest version of myself.
And how do you help other people by doing that?
I believe that doing that alone helps other people
Hmm. Do you support others to find the highest version of themselves?
fully.
Okay. And what tools do you use in your martial arts bag of tricks?
That is malleable to the moment, depending on the situation and
So give some examples for people that are listening to this so they
yeah.
understand the range.
Yeah. So it can involve just guiding somebody with some knowledge about the right plants that could help them with their dosha or their uh, diet sensibilities or their issues physically.
So what is dosha? Let's back up for 1 second. What is
Is-
dosha?
Dosha is one of the it's from the Ayurvedic medicine um, school of medicine and thought, and it's a way of eating certain types of foods or herbs based upon your makeup. There are three of them, and you can, depending on the season, ingest certain things that can help you maximize.
So Scott, as
Yeah.
a certified hypnotherapist, okay, who has worked with conversational alchemy and supports people in reframing what it is that they need to have with them along their journey to become the highest, most purposeful version of who they want to be and who they contracted to be. I have heard you reference the martial arts,
Yeah.
and you've helped me to come into awareness of building my own martial arts bag of tricks. So for
Mhm.
me, I kind of think of it as like a Mary Poppins bag where I just kind of put my magic, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
so could you speak to that and the development of martial arts and how that helps people to empower themselves in their lives? Because it's profound.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. And I'm sensing, I'm feeling the irony of it on this 1 degree Capricorn day that we're talking about martial arts and why maybe at first I was like really sensitive and a little bit vulnerable. One being Leo rule. I'm a Leo ascendant, self love, state of awareness degree. So anchoring in that, I feel like a self love thing I've done that I've realized could help others, especially moving into this Aquarian age of Pluto transit, is the notion of the martial arts, right? The martial art of ascension is what I call it. And the analogy was that I've talked about is Bruce Lee took all the traditional classic martial arts and created his own unique version of it that was unique to himself. Junki Do is what he called it, I believe. And it was um, the malleability and willingness to be limitlessly inclusive and expansive with all these things and being able to like not have to choose one path, but create a new path that incorporated everything. And the martial art, I realized, is um, is limitless. That's what's great about it. It is a opportunity to take all the empowerment available to us at this time when we have more knowledge and information and everything accessible, and create our own customized, not answering to anyone, um, art of moving through life. So that means we can become our own herbalist, botanist, student of pranayama, yoga practitioner, um, explorer of plant medicine, um, self hypnotist, self hypnotherapist. We can have all these variable things in our bag that we can draw upon at any time, and really just as a daily maintenance to move through the 3D existence of being a human on this planet, and with a really dense emotional field that you and I have talked about, and then hopefully use this opportunity to level up and ascend to a 4 or 5D. And then, yeah, so the purpose then lies for Pachamama, for Mother Earth. I think that is the best thing we can do. If we raise our frequency, then we are doing our best duty for Mother Earth to raise the frequency of that, which then affects the solar system and beyond.
Hmm. One of the things that you said that was, well, you said a lot of things that were super powerful, but one of them in particular was about becoming your own healer and heal thyself, healthy self is one of, I've always been intrigued by that word, right? Healthy. And if you really start to look at it, it's heal thy, right? Heal thy self. And with all that we've been given in terms of the ability to have a new liver in 90 days, right? Like, if we wanted to, like, according to Chinese medicine, and you're working with an acupuncturist, or you came to see Scott and Scott was helping you with some herbs to detox your liver, like, you can regenerate the body in very profound ways. Like every 7 years, you're able to have a completely new cellular body. True or false, Scott Collins?
And I feel like at this point, also, why limit it to that? I think
Exactly.
it's like um, recent physics and data has shown, but it is. I mean, why limit us to when we eliminate the illusion of time that we can't do that
Instantly?
instantly? Yeah, you said it.
Instantly,
Instantly.
right?
Right.
And that quantum field. So through breath work that you've done to help people as they're experiencing different states of consciousness, relaxation, breath work is something that I know you do it before the show to kind of drop into your zone. That's kind of how you open up your channel. Could you speak to that and how breath and life and an empowered life, how those things connect and how you can support people to tap that now, similar to how Leland shared, right? Like his home, like his going home method, right?
Yeah, and again, I'll reference the martial art of breath. I'm going to call that pretty much everything now. The martial
Right
art of,
on.
the martial art of breath. So for
Scott
me,
Nearshore Art Collins.
um, the particular brand of breath work that really spoke to me was pranayama. And that's a pretty vast thing. There's a lot that you can really dive into that abyss, and there's a lot to learn from pranayama. But I found that there were just a couple, two or three that I could access that really resonated like an instrument that I've really noticed it helped tune my instrument. When you think of your body as an instrument, and then breath can really help us tune from the ground up our chakras, really get into a place. So the one I use a lot is called alternate nostril breathing. There's a Sanskrit word of course, but basically you're closing one nostril, breathing in one, exhaling out the other, and then cycling that. It's like a form of circular breathing. When when you tap into, well, the great thing about breath work, and I do believe it's similar to heightened states of meditation, is like when you enter it without judgment and just allow the technique and the practice to be this, to be the thing. That's when you really notice the transformation happen.
Mm.
And I guess that would be my advice for someone trying to do some breath work is just do it without judgment. If you have thoughts, it's okay, don't worry about that. Just recognize them, accept them, and then let them pass through like clouds. And I teach a lot of the breathing exercises to a lot of my tennis clients, athletes, like as a way to center and ground on changeovers, to
Yeah,
let
this
go of
is
the
important.
past and actually not even be concerned about the future, just to be completely back present, no, and to regain neutrality, really.
Yes, breath work and athletics goes hand in hand,
Yeah.
right? And imagine when all athletes understand this. Like, what will that look like? Plus, nobody will be able to get in and get an appointment with you. But it's really an important, very underrated, because I find that a lot of things with the unconscious mind or unconscious anatomical function, like, your autonomous nervous system, like it just takes over. And so, like, you don't have to worry about breathing. Like, your body's just going to kind of do it. And I find like that disconnect that we have with some of our unconscious automated functions, if you will, when we bring awareness and attention, you really can shift every performance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think breath is a great vessel. If you were to ask me, what do I feel most empowered about now? Life, I would say it's my awareness,
Mhm.
because I know that can't be undone. And um, breath, when necessary, breathing, any whatever one resonates with you, can remind you of your awareness
Mhm.
immediately.
Mhm.
So I use it daily to remind me. And then when an experience surfaces that I know I attracted, to demonstrate a new aptitude, because it's what I need to experience to level up my ascension and my frequency, then breath is very, very handy to anchor back in that awareness when challenging experiences surface.
Is that your number one martial arts tool?
Breathing,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
I would say so.
Mhm. Mhm. That would have been my guess, but that's for you to totally go there with. Um, the other question, pardon?
Look at my bag real quick.
Into that martial arts bag, dude.
Here. Um, I would say it's the number one action oriented thing in
Yeah,
your bag.
brilliant. I like that. I like that qualifier, the action oriented. Yeah. Cause that's a lot of times what people need is that immediate like the action, like what can I do right now, right? To change a state.
Right.
Sometimes people need to just change states.
Yeah. I
Um,
think the most important thing is self love in that bag. But
mhm,
that's especially for, a Capricorn, it's like, is that a verb or a noun? Self love.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
like, how do I love myself or whatever, But
mhm,
if there's an action that's a different verb than that can help you access,
mhm.
I think breath, yes, would be my personal number one.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. I want to talk to you about two more things at least. I also want to talk to you about your experience with frog medicine and helping people to understand how they can use combo in their own lives and learn how to even potentially self administer to help to heal thyself.
Right. So I have to, yeah, back up. Like, so now we're talking about plants and herbs and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And we always have to give credit where credit's due. Like people that introduce you to things in your life, maybe were
Mhm.
like a catalyst for opening up doors and portals to learning, and then tapping into your own wizardry.
Mhm.
I would say that I studied more at that time alternative medicine, holistic medicine, plants, herbs, electromedicine. Electromedicine, not to be confused with things like chemotherapy or radiation, but light therapy, sound therapy, frequency therapy. And I did study more for that stuff than I ever did studying physics.
Mhm.
So that would have started in 2012. So I can say that I've been a student and practitioner of that for about 12 years.
Mhm.
Um, so that's my path with plants. Combo is not a psychedelic.
Right.
It is a Amazonian frog medicine that it actually is really advised to always sit with somebody when you're doing it. You really don't want to um, do it alone ever. Now, it can be administered. You could administer it yourself once you're trained with it, but it is something that you should have somebody there with to do. It is in short, a medicine that floods your body with peptides and fires your autoimmune system on a uh, heightened aspect, which, as a byproduct, stimulates your immune system to be functioning at a higher level. Ultimately, all of our disease, as Louise Hay calls
Hmm.
it, um, in addition to being emotional or spiritually activated, often it's just a byproduct of our immune systems not functioning at their highest capability. And that's why a lot of these techniques can heal things, not like the same approach to healing cancer. You can actually heal it MS or HIV or like ADHD or a lot of things with the same fundamental approaches, just with slightly nuanced tweaks as you go through them wider. But if you're rebuilding the immune system from the ground up, then our
Mhm.
systems are actually capable of
Mhm.
managing most everything.
Mhm. It's really interesting because I always say that the body doesn't know a name of a disease, it only knows degrees of inflammation,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so it manifests very differently, probably based on things like dosha, like our constitution,
Mhm.
environmentally, as well as our internal elemental environments, right? Um, but recognizing that degrees of inflammation come from really interesting parts of our lives where plants, right? Like the average pH of a plant is like our pH,
Mhm.
right? 7.365. And when you look at how plants benefit us, I mean, what is it now? Like for living in like the most toxic world that we possibly live in, don't we need something like minimum of 8 to 10 servings of plants and vegetables, like fruits, veggies a day?
Right, which is why juicing is so powerful because, try to sit down and eat like 6 celery sticks and a whole head of lettuce. I mean, I love those foods, but it's hard to get that much. But yeah, when you juice them, you can get that much into your body really in 1 or 2 servings.
Totally.
And when you juice on an empty stomach, even more profound things happen. You
Mhm.
you don't it's basically like putting an IV right into your body of all these things that those foods have to offer because you're bypassing the need for the stomach acids and that whole digestive system to process it. You don't even need the enzymes in your stomach to do it. The natural enzymes in those juiced foods are actually then just flooding your blood and your whole stomach lining and digestive system. That's why juice fasting is so profound for any
Any ailments, anything that ails you.
yeah.
Or if you just want to feel even better, right? I know for me, I used the Gerson method for 18 months, in my own healing. And that was just a way to get instant absorption, like you were saying, instant flooding of the body of nutrients. And most dis-ease is found in, unfortunately, some of the most basic things that we consume without knowing, right? Um, and you and I talk about this, that food has changed a lot. And with the modification of certain foods, our body is not programmed to receive like a tomato that has another strand of DNA in it that's non tomato. Let's just say that.
Mhm.
That renders that modified tomato, in air quotes, as something else. And the programming of the body enzymatically and how we can actually break it down, synthesize it, and utilize it is thrown off base. It perceives it as an invader sometimes, especially if there's a bunch of chemicals on it,
Yeah.
right? And I know that that's something that you talk about with people because you have an apothecarium that's pretty much all organic, like the herbs, the plants.
Yeah, and I've just it's my wife has an apothecary, actually a line, but I do make some of my own things. So like that's the martial art of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't commercially really do much of any of this. So I guess that's
So
why I was having a hard time earlier. I'm realizing now when you ask me about clients, I associate that word with commercialism.
Mhm.
Um, so I do practice and implement all these things daily and share it with other people. Sometimes, and the energy exchange can come in various forms. Sometimes it's currency, sometimes it's other things,
Mhm.
sometimes it's karmic contracts.
Mhm.
But there is an energy exchange that
Mhm.
happens with this. So I do make my own martial art, apothecary products, tinctures, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Michelle,
Yes, sir.
my Cancerian sister, it's so ironic because I'm Capricorn and I'm the first to cry always. And you're Cancer who who fa- who supposedly famously cry, but it's a super rarity. So it's only fitting. But tell me, What? I say that because I was like, am I going to cry while I interview her? But um, what are you feeling most empowered about in your life right now?
I think that I'm personally feeling most empowered in my knowing of purpose, um, as receiving the message to be the messenger, um, to help others to become their own messenger so they can actually grow and share what it is that their gifts and purpose is. And I'm feeling just empowered around being able to share in a very intentional way with people how we can reach our highest versions of ourselves.
What was your biggest obstacle in recognizing that in yourself personally, or like accessing and achieving that?
Oh, that's really kind of funny. I don't think I knew who the fluff I was. I think that I thought that I was this collection of experiences and degrees and opportunities that I had taken. And I thought that I was all of the external parts of me that had accomplished or experienced. And I don't think that I realized that within me, that truth of who I am was already there. And I don't think I had any clue until I started to really delve into hypnosis, hypnotherapy, alchemy, astrology. Um, yeah.
What informed you that you now realize who you are?
For me, something that's really important is to help people to understand their processing systems, how it is that you're taking in this experience of Earth School. And so for me, I am first and foremost kinesthetic. So my body is what informs me of truth for me. And so that's the barometer that I can understand that I help people to determine within them, like what is it that makes you know that you're in a space of your truth. And for me, it's definitely from within my body. And there was feelings.
Feelings, feelings, and
Feelings,
emotions. What? Tell me about the
well, for
different.
not necessarily emotions for me, right? Because and this is
Yeah.
something that, feelings, like, I'll joke around because people think that you're a Cancerian, and so you're all about the feelings. And one of the jokes that I have is that, like, that song, like, ugh, the feelings song. Like, I snarkily will say to friends, like, ugh, cue the feelings song, like that depressing 1970s, like, whoa, 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 feelings or something. Like, yeah, but um. For me, it's more of a barometer within my body that I ask it, and I usually get, as I would call them, the God goosebumps. It's for me a verification probably of what it is that I'm intuitively accessing. And I've just been shown that I have to check in with that.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish the word intelligence was more associated with feelings than associated with the mind.
Mhm,
Because we think of the mind as being unemotional, right? Or the capability of that.
mhm.
And we think of it as being smart or not, the intelligence.
Sure.
Applying that notion to the feelings, that this is
Mhm,
our intelligence source. It's not emotion. That's a
mhm.
different thing.
It's a different
Right.
thing.
It's a different thing. And that is something to recognize and experience. but it's different. Like a feeling is a sensory thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then like, yeah, kudos to you. That's identifying it as intelligence,
Yes.
not caught in emotion.
Yes.
Mind can just be like the copa, help aid you in processing, or maybe aid you in implementing or
And
acting, but aid in a bit nonetheless.
that's what I think. And with work with hypnotherapy clients and stuff, I think that that distinction is very freeing for people because I think that feeling and emotion can become super compressed and distorted in that compression where one cannot distinguish, is this an emotion or is this a feeling? And so sometimes if you take away the word feeling and you might use a synonym like vibe,
Mm,
it might help you to distinguish the difference,
yeah,
and I think that that's a really important aspect for any kind of refinement, like to kind of play life like a Stradivarius, to tune yourself to make that distinction.
yeah, I like that. Younger generations are using vibe instead. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
word works for me.
yeah. Tell me about. I'm gonna ask you a question that you like about some of the risks you've taken to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Risks that I've taken. Okay, so let's just say being a Reiki master, hypnotherapist, a colon hygienist, an NLP master, a podcaster now, like
Yeah.
all of those things, according to social norms, might be like risk oriented.
Yeah.
You've heard me joke around that, like my family thought that I would have made a great entertainment lawyer. Only one problem. I've despised the entertainment industry from the time I was 3 because I thought there was weird things going on in it. So, risk for me in terms of my very success oriented achievement clan of origin was from stepping outside of what anybody else had ever done before in my family of origin. I would say now, risk for me is not even as much of like you and I have talked about language and neurolinguistic programming and how we frame work, as a Capricorn. For me, I see it as an opportunity. So for me, instead of risk, what I would say yet again would be an opportunity to do something that's never been done before. And I don't even perceive that as a risk anymore, as much as I perceive it as a pioneering.
Hey, it, an opportunity for originality.
Authenticity,
Yeah.
originality.
H- How many of those things would you say, like their initial seed of germination, was just sheerly because they brought you joy in your heart? Were they heart driven things? All of those? Some of
Yeah,
them?
yeah, pretty much. I didn't know it. I would have said it was intuition, right? Or I would have said it was my connection to higher source energy, what I would call God. But it actually is from a place within my heart that I operate now that it just brings me joy. I do it because I like it, you know? And I don't say this to be on a shallow plane. I say this as one of the places and spaces that I was able to explore creativity was through clothing and through like having like a boutique. And I was able to start to create in ways that I didn't know that I could create. And I think that with that kind of creativity, there becomes this exploration and there becomes this opportunity to kind of construct things in ways that you didn't even know that you could. And so for me, I think that probably how I actually move on down the road is if it's outcome based for me, it's because it's resonating from the heart. And that's what I encourage clients to only really engage in. Like, I get it. People are going to be like, well, Michelle, my heart really isn't to taking out the trash today, but it's trash day on Monday. So I got to do it on Sunday. Yeah. Okay, cool. Like, you might not be able to make your heart resonate with that. And it just might be like a task. But I'm telling you this, when that trash is out, your heart will feel good on the inside because it's a fait accompli, right? Like, it's done. So I feel like this framing of heart energy is a really new place in space that I would say I'm exploring with clients often. And it's within myself that I think, because we attract we're sacred mirrors.
Yeah. And I like
I'm
what
in a deep ass trance, so I don't know if I answered appropriately.
yeah. No, and it doesn't matter. The questions are
Well, it does, but
taking me portals to something even deeper, maybe. Like that's I know you. I like how you mentioned outcome based or not, and I
Mhm.
with my clients of all sorts. Um, I mean, one of the hugest, I think, sage things to anchor in, or at least that I share in my martial art bag that we talked about earlier, is the ability to be unattached to outcome.
Yeah.
Like whenever, especially if it is a heart germinated uh, effort or action
Mhm.
or notion,
Mhm.
that in alone is enough. Like,
Mhm.
and being unattached to outcome.
It can be, but then I think there's also points where our heart does attach to outcome. Like, I know that for me, my heart really vibes high when we talk about getting this out there to larger numbers of people, right? Like, that's an outcome that for me, I would never perceive this as a failure. It would only be feedback, right? But I also think that the removal sometimes of outcome based can leave people like in the fields, not knowing where to go. Like and they just kind of keep looping around through infinity, and they don't necessarily bust it in the way that they might have wanted to. So I think it depends on the individual.
Mm.
I think it's a very individually based, and that's one of the things that I try to assess within my clients is their processing. Okay. They're understanding their interface between their understanding of language, the words that they're using, how those words are affecting their body, right? As well as their mind, their spirit, and their life, their existence. And then how can we shape the inner dialogue, right? To where it actually can align them with what they want to see out there. Because what's in here, what's on the inside of us, look around your life and you see the outside is your reflection from what's inside.
Oh yeah, totally. Right. It's more like how I feel like a good alternate to being attached to an outcome is like, how do you want your life to feel?
Mhm.
Right. Just feel that. Search for it in a moment.
Mhm.
Search. And when you feel it, like hold on to that, like tune it to that and hold on to that tone. And I think it's important to distinguish the difference between manifestation or being attached to outcome. Like manifesting is different. And I want to remind, like, being attached to outcome swings both ways. It's kind of like when we were interviewing Tom and reminding ourselves that just as important it is to be able to receive, right? So, like, attached to outcome goes both ways, good and
Mhm.
gooder. Like, I wouldn't want to limit
Yes.
the outcome in that direction either. So, I think
Mhm.
that's important. Like when it said, when we have the 360 view, when we become 360,
Mhm.
and it's an expansive in all directions uh, existence.
Mhm. For sure. And the good and gooder, I think, is a real cornerstone. How for you, like the Nearshore Arts bag is like a real pillar and a cornerstone of the work that you build on with your clients. I would say for me, good and gooder is that pillar because you are already great. You know, great and greater is where I would pump it to for the Aquarian age because I think it needs a little bit more electric oomph.
Yeah.
And great and greater because you are already great because you're stepping into a space that's allowing you to be even greater. You know, you're already good because you're allowing yourself to enter into a space where life can be even quote unquote LOL gooder. Um, it's like being the observer in the quantum field, like the just observing has already shifted the outcome. It's your participation shifts it in the
Right.
greatest way.
Right. Yeah. And the same way that awareness alone shifts it,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just, there is no right or wrong, good or bad response. It's
Right.
just a response. And often just doing anything different in any direction is the shift.
Yes. And so many times we are focused on what it is that we are not doing. And so we don't realize what it is that we are doing. You know, and we've all heard people talk about when you're just focused on this and this is the problem and you're just focused on the problem, you're focused on that and you're missing everything that is not the problem. And so I think that recognizing where attention is placed internally. Okay, because we think of attention as external, right? Like one of the things that I say to my clients is, because people, adults, it's really it's a sad thing when adults come in and they say, Michelle, I think I have ADHD. And that explains my whole life and why I'm da 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 blah blah blah. And I say to them, well, first of all, I don't diagnose, I don't prescribe, and so for me, you're just you. Okay. And the first thing I say to folks is, there's not even an ADHD diagnosis in France. They don't believe it. People are like, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, they don't diagnose like children with ADHD. They don't believe that it is a thing. And just like that, you've shifted a perspective because you've given somebody a new frame to put information in that they never knew before. And yet they base their whole life on this very narrow view. And they think that they're broken and they think that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And what if everything is right?
Like this whole thing about the spectrum too.
Oh, you know my theory on that.
Yeah. And because I feel like there's some of them are gifted, like individuals
Sure.
here that get that limiting. number over there.
We're all on a spectrum, okay? First of all, we're all on a continuum. And yeah, I mean,
My head.
right. So I have been working with a client who's a young client who needed to have a change of environment. And this person has a label on them that was not probably the right label. And this person is super young. Like this person is the alpha generation. Okay? This person was born after 2012. And for somebody to think that they are just a label and then to hear that, wait, no, there's more to you than this. And this person didn't even know that label, but the person felt the limitation of the vibe that I'm not a limitless person because I need all of the support because something is wrong with me, because I process things differently. Maybe it's because you're this super smart person who happens to learn differently.
Yeah. This makes me think of this, there's a question I'm about to ask you, but the Gottman Institute did a study. Gottman, for those that don't know, is like a relationship uh, psychologist. And I think this study was ironically done with the intention of how to navigate close personal relationships, probably, marriages, even, and that kind of thing. But it was done with athletics, interestingly enough. I think it was golf and bowling, one or the other of both. But they had two control groups, and one controlled group only practiced, focused on, worked on weakest part of their
Yes.
game for several weeks. And then
Uh-huh.
the other only practiced, focused on their strength for a certain number of weeks.
That's right.
And which control group's weakness improved? The one that didn't focus on it at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like, what is something that, what are some tools that someone can do to help only stay, instead of when they're looking at that pen, focusing on the problems, not this,
Mhm.
not that. Like, keep the eye on the prize, or keep the eye when you're dining inside.
So, one of the things that I say is rather than seeking perfection, begin to see the perfection. And so I think that so many of us look at ourselves, we look at our lives, and we see imperfection. And I think that a way that you flip the script is literally to say, rather than seeking it, what is perfect in me right now? And you just begin from the gut, right? For me, it would be I'm putting myself in front of this camera and I'm doing it. I'm doing it. You know, that's rather than seeking perfection, I'm seeing this as perfection. I'm seeing it. And that is like seeing greatness. It's like seeing all of those higher frequency feelings and emotions that we can kind of muster and channel them to ourselves first, put our own oxygen mask on, and then channel that out to the whole world. I think that that's truly a, f- a a phenomenal opportunity that we sit right at the threshold of right now in 2025, just beginning in ways that I don't think we've ever had these opportunities before. I think that the whole idea of what a narcissist is going to really begin to shift. And I think we're going to end up to have a lot of compassion for people that are narcissistic because they actually have no idea what their gifts and their purposes and their talents are, and they don't value them, and they turn that questioning and that discomfort within them externally to everyone else. And I think that one of the most profound shifts right now that I'm experiencing with clients is that people are looking at themselves when they're met with problems. Like, wow, I need a strategy from within me, as opposed to when we used to look at things and be like, "Oh yeah, man, that dude is the problem."
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Right?
That's massive.
Mhm. Mhm.